With the Darkest Day arc coming up, I want to give my predictions on how the arc will run in the anime compared to the games. Usually, we have a pretty decent idea of how things usually change between the games and the animes. Usually, the villains are seen throughout the whole setup in the anime, we see the plot moving forward, and eventually it comes to a head similar to the games. But sometimes the anime does surprise us by adapting some parts of the game while completely changing others. And since we have a trailer for the Darkest Day arc, I want to give my thoughts on how this 4-part arc will run in the Journeys anime. First things first, let's look at all the things in this preview that we got pertaining only to the Darkest Day. Through the combination of the next episode preview from the last episode, as well as the titles of the future episodes, we can, for the most part, discern what clip is supposed to be from where. Starting things off, the first thing we see is Leon and his Charizard are going to be involved in this arc, similar to the games. That's not surprising. Leon is the main challenge for Ash in Journeys, and he's also a major player in the game, so again, not surprising at all. What is a surprise, and it's always to me the most interesting parts of these arc, is Team Rocket's involvement. In Sun and Moon, they actually weren't involved that much. In this case, it's Meowth Gigantamaxing at the top of the energy plant in Hammerlock. It's most likely being caused by the energy of the egg in the plant. Since Team Rocket has also been in many of these villain events though, anytime Meowth is used, it's usually used as a translator between the legendary Pokemon and the humans. In this case, I think that either that's what it's going to be used for, or, as we'll see a bit later, to help battle against Eternatus before it Gigantamaxes fully. In the game, you first fight regular Eternatus before having to face it again in its Gigantamax form, so that's why I say that. The next thing we see, and there's two interesting things. One, someone gave Go a Dynamax band, so it's clear he's about to Dynamax one of his Pokemon. Which Pokemon will he do it? I don't know, I think it might be Flygon. But second and most important, it looks like Go is going to be playing the part of Bead from the games. We can see that he's in the mural by Stowan side. I assume that he's going to have a battle here, cause the mural to break, and expose the statues that show the secrets of Zacian and Zamazenta to Sonia, similar to the games. So we have a different character here doing a similar action to the games. Another thing different from the game here is Raihan's involvement. He also seems to be battling most likely Eternatus on top of the roof, and for me, he wasn't a part of the main battle in the game, which always seems strange to me since he's a gym leader in the city. However, in this case, they do seem to be rectifying that by having him be involved in a major way. That makes sense to me. He's also going to be a major rival for Ash as it's hinted, so it makes sense that he's a big part of this arc. They seem to be showing a bit more of Leon's team earlier in the anime. Specifically, his Dragapult, which was his surprise Pokemon in the games. It looks like it's also going to be involved in the main battle. And you know what? In this case, I do think it makes sense in the game. Dreepy by default is a super low encounter Pokemon, which means that most people won't have expected it when they're facing Leon for the first time. But in the anime, they built up his Charizard as the Pokemon, and since by the end of the series, when we might get another battle with Dragapult, it'll almost have been Gen 9, there's no reason to pretend like he won't have that Pokemon. What the anime does surprise you with, however, is Chairman Rose, and that's mostly because he hasn't done anything. We've seen him once in the series, and he's already looked like a bad guy then, so if he goes around doing evil things the first chance we get to see more of him, he'll end up being a generic bad guy. Now, maybe they'll not make him evil, maybe they'll take the Lusamine route, who knows. But I'm disappointed in the fact that it seems like as soon as he comes into the series, he's already being shown as being evil. The reason he works in the game as an antagonist is because you meet him several times along your journey. He comes off more as a lead guy as opposed to everything he's doing, which is why it's supposed to be surprising that he's the bad guy. But here, after his first encounter, the arc happens. I really hope that there's going to be a bit more complex characterization than that, because that seems a bit boring to me. The next few scenes seem to be taking place in the wild area, and Sonia is involved here as the energy from Hammerlock starts spreading to all the other gyms. Sonia is interesting here in how much she seems to be focused here. In the games, while she is an important and focused character, most of the time anything she does is done out of screen. She talks about the Darkest Day to Magnolia, off screen. She talks to you about some of the statues and some of the images she finds, but most of that again is done off screen. Here, it looks like she's going to be way more involved even in the climax of the game. I am a bit worried that her ascension to Professor will be rushed because of this. The story of Magnolia pushing her to be the Professor might end up being lost by her trying to do everything in just these 4 episodes, but maybe they'll save that for later. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see. The next scene is something that happens in the game, but I appreciate it so much more here because it's one of my biggest complaints in the game. The game is mostly all tell, no show. We get told in the game that there are Dynamax Pokemon everywhere because of this energy and they could destroy cities, but that's never shown. In fact, if you fly over to your home as the Darkest Day plot is going on, it's as peaceful as ever, like nothing's ever happened. All of the Pokemon are Gigantamaxing unnecessarily just takes place inside gyms and nothing outside. That's probably because they didn't have a way to do that in Sword and Shield. They probably just didn't figure out how to do that technology-wise, but in the anime, since they can, they look like they are. And because of that, here we really get to see the consequences of the Darkest Day. Pokemon Dynamaxing when they shouldn't, towering over cities. That's what I hope to see in the game, but it never materialized. Next, we see Rose driving in a car somewhere, and Sonia also coming somewhere, slamming her brakes next to people. This looks like it's in Hammerlock, but you can see by the dark colors, so it could all be the main players arriving in the scene just as things are about to go down. Since there's no car in the game, there's nothing to compare to here in the game. However, what there is Ash flying from Winden Tower. In the games, you never fly away from Winden Towers, you try to actually get there, and the League officials are the ones trying to stop you. This seems to happen before the Darkest Day takes place since it's super bright out. I wonder if this is right after Ash meets Rose for the first time in the anime. We also get a clip of Charizard fighting, which means unlike in the game, we will see Leon's battle against Eternatus in the anime, which is good. But more important for me, Ash and Go are the ones in the Slumbering Wield trying to summon Zacian and Zamazenta, which means they'll replace the player character, obviously, but more importantly, Hop. Hop is a pretty big involvement in the game. He's the other person that helps call and eventually catch Zacian or Zamazenta depending on your game. Is this going to be another house situation where he doesn't show up until the end of the series? Who knows, but it's massively different from the game in this regard, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. The final 2 things we see are Eternatus, which it looks like it's going to be on top of the power plant like in the game, and this is more ambiguous, Mewtwo. Is Mewtwo going to be involved in this arc, or is it a teaser for a future arc? I don't see how it can be involved in this game. I actually think maybe this is a teaser for a Crown Tundra arc with the 3 Galarian birds. That would make sense since the 3 legendary birds are connected to Mewtwo in a little bit of a way, but other than that, I don't see how it can be involved in this Darkest Day arc. Or, I could be completely wrong and Mewtwo will be involved here, but I just don't see what purpose it can serve in the story, so I think I'll just stick to my theory here. So overall, what's going to be the changes from the game? First of all, Team Rocket's going to be a major part in this arc. That's made pretty clear. Second, the anime is going to address a lot of the parts missed by the game as it should. Third, in the same breath though, the anime is going to lack a lot of the character moments leading to the situation, which is going to hurt it. Fourth, Rose seems a lot more sinister in the anime than he does in the game, as in the game he comes off as a bit more genuine in his attempts to try to save the world. Fifth, Hop won't be involved in the story at all, and that does make sense since he hasn't been introduced yet, but I wonder what it means for the future, or if he'll even show up in the anime at all. Which, speaking of, sixth, it looks like both Sonia and Raihan will be involved a lot more in the anime than they were in the game, as we can see them looking like they're in the final conflict in the zone. And 7, it looks like Go's gonna take the place of Bede in the story, helping break the mural, get the story of Zacian and Zamazenta. I was hoping that maybe a bit more of the Galar leaders would be involved in this arc since it's such a big arc, especially Bee since we're just introduced to her because she's a Galar gym leader. But in this preview, it doesn't look like that will be the case. Hopefully they can be integrated into the future as some sort of fallout from this event. That would be neat to see. But anyways, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe, and in the comments let me know, are you excited for this arc? You can also let me know on Twitter at TheRealPdGaming, and that's it. I will talk to you guys later. Peace.